Hello, hello, 皆さん、こんにちは. Welcome to this month's edition of Ochi Gohan, our online home cooking series featuring your favorite Japanese dishes. My name is Yoshi Domoto. I'm the executive director of the Japan America Society at Georgia, and so happy to have you today as we partner together for Table for Two's Washoku Iku and the Japan America Society and Japan Societies here in Atlanta, Georgia, Houston, Boston, Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Indiana, Colorado, New York, and our newest member, North Carolina. Without further ado, let's introduce you to our instructor and our cooking sensei, as with all of our Ochigohan series, Miss Deborah Samuels. Deborah Sensei, yoroshiku onegai shimasu.
Yoroshiku onegaishimasu. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Ochigohan session on Tofukatsu, Tonkatsu, edamame, and sando. I hope we're able to do all of this in one session. I'm pretty sure we will. I hope you're able to follow the guidelines in terms of preparation. And that actually was given to me through our job form survey, where people making suggestions on what to do. So at the end of this, there will be a survey for you to fill out, and I do listen, and we do make changes for it. So this is also coinciding with our Table for Two's edamame champ program, which I'll explain a little bit later. But from mid-March to mid-May, we teach about soy and healthy Japanese foods through soy. And that is part of why we're doing with Tofukatsu today, as well as edamame. So the first part of the program, just 10 minutes or so, I'm going to be doing a PowerPoint presentation about soy, and then we're going to get cooking. And I want to make sure everybody's set, you have everything prepared and ready to go. And hopefully we'll make this a good, smooth class, because there is a lot to do this time. Okay, so without further ado, I will also share my screen. I'm from Table for Two. Our program is the Washoku Iku program. Learn, cook, eat Japanese. And when we start our programs, we very often teach in schools, in libraries, and after schools. So we like to teach a little bit of Japanese culture along with Japanese food. So we like to have everybody learn what it's like to greet a teacher when a teacher comes in a classroom. So I ask everybody to stand up, put their hands in front of their laps, and we say, Sensei, teacher, konnichiwa, and bend. Can everybody say that? Sensei, konnichiwa. And many of you, I can see some of you might have grown up in Japan and greeted your teachers that way, and it's very polite, and that's the way things get started there. So let's go on. This is a session about soy. Both of these are soy. On the left, does anybody know what this is called, the green pod? Anybody want to just call it out? You can unmute yourself.
Edamame? Edamame?
Yes, edamame, exactly. And that is the immature soybean, the raw, the sort of the young soybean, the one that we can eat directly. The one on the right is a dried soybean, and which is the one that is used to make all the different foods that are made from soy. So soybeans, edamame, which are now popular all over the United States, and dried soybeans, which are daizu. And that is also used to make some of the foods that we're going to be using today. So we've got the edamame and the soybean and daizu. They grow on long stalks. And when they're fresh like this, they very often sell them in supermarkets. And as you all know, you boil them and just eat them. They're very popular beer snack. That's how they started off there in Japan, but we eat them all the time here in the US for any kind of snack. And then the daizu is the dried soybean. Okay. Anybody want to take a guess who the top soybean producers are in the world? Anybody want to want to guess?
Oh, I can't.
The US?
The US. Okay. Anyone else want to guess?
Japan.
Japan.
Mexico.
Next, that's a good guess. It is Brazil. We were the top soy producers. We're the second ones.
I was going to say Ukraine.
Yeah. And all the soybeans are growing up in the Midwest of the United States, down through a bit of the southern areas. And we do a very big business in exportation of soybeans. We export about 60%. They go all over the world. And these are a lot of the soybeans that we use here. We've just started using them for food, but it was basically food for animals and vegetable oil. So we've kind of come a long way in soybeans use in the US. So what kind of soy products have you tried? Can people just name some soy foods that they have had?
Tofu.
Tofu, yes. Anything else? Any soy product?
Bean product.
Yeah, what tofu and edamame?
Something we use almost every day with Japanese food.
Soy sauce?
Yes, soy sauce.
Fermented soybeans. I forget the name.
Oh,
Natto,
fermented
right?
soy.
Natto.
Inari.
Yes, inari, perfect. So let's look. Soybean oil, soy milk. That's another very popular product. Soy sauce. Miso. Miso is also made from the daisuke, the soybean. Miso soup from miso. Tofu, as you said. And the fermented soybean, the natto, okay? That is one of these challenging foods, but it's one of the healthiest foods that you could eat with fermentation and the soybean on top. Okay, soybeans are healthy, they're delicious, they're easy to make, and they're kind of fun to eat when you just pop them in your mouth. And I'm so glad to see in America that they've been embraced as a snack of all different varieties. And once you can buy frozen edamame in Trader Joe's, it goes all over the US. So it is a food that has definitely traveled. Soy is often called meat of the fields. Does anybody have an idea why? Soy.
High protein.
Yes, it's a protein. It's a plant protein, and it is very often used in substitution of meat, which some people will be doing today, and plant-based protein. We talk a little bit about why we eat with our students in school, and we eat to get energy, and we get that through carbohydrates, go foods, fats and carbohydrates. We eat them to build strong muscles, and this is through our proteins. They're grow foods, and that you can get, as we now know, through plants, soybeans, dairy, fish, beef, all sorts of things. And then these are the glow foods that you fight diseases, where you get your vegetables and your minerals. And today we are going to be concentrating on tofu and soybeans. So one more thing before we get started. It's great to have these things on your plate, but how much do you think is the right amount of protein per meal?
2.
1, 2 with your palm of your hand, or 3, 2 portions? What does everybody say? Want to shout it out? Palm of your hand.
2.
That's right.
2.
You're really lucky if you got a bigger palm of your hand, but that's about the size of your portion. It's a little over 4 ounces. All right. And now we are going to get ready to cook. Important, if anybody has a food allergy, you're all at home, so you know what you're dealing with. And today we're going to be making water. Tofukatsu, as we've said already, we've got the Tofukatsu here, the Tonkatsu, the pork cutlet here, and the tofu sando and our edamame. And traditionally in Japan, there are restaurants that are just devoted to katsu, tonkatsu, and they're often served with huge piles of cabbage and a sauce on the side, which is a Worcestershire-based sauce with a tomato paste or ketchup, which we're going to actually make our own today, and yellow mustard. Okay, yellow mustard is one of the key things that is used to serve with tonkatsu. And I'm now calling in from Germany, the home of schnitzel, and tofu, and the pork cutlet is said to have been one of the things that have come in this field of yoshoku, which is Western food, from Germany. So I'm seeing the parallels, and I'm also seeing a lot of yellow mustard on the shelves. So I'm thinking this is not too far afield about why that it got there. And as we go along, Yoshi is going to give us some fun facts about tofu and about katsu. And the katsu sando, I will tell you, when I go to Japan, and the first thing I do when I go to Japan is I go to 7-Eleven convenience store and buy a katsu sando. They are delicious, and they're also very easy to make. So we're going to be doing that today as well. All right, I'm going to stop my share, and we are going to confirm my speaking language here. Let me just put this out, and whoops, save. And now we'll go back here. Okay. So does anybody have any questions before we get started? I'm going to go over the ingredients, and we'll take this hopefully in order. All right. I'm going to share again my screen, which is now going to be the camera. And here we go. All right, everyone. So what is very important when you're doing any kind of cooking is your preparation, and you're getting started, putting everything in order so that when you're ready to cook, it's 1, 2, 3. So today I've already, if anybody is using tofu, I have drained my tofu by putting it in 2 layers of kitchen paper towel, and I put a weight on top of it to try and get out as much water as possible. And I saved the first towel to show you how much water is actually in tofu, and that's after I threw out 2 plates of water. And the important thing here, the reason why you do this with this firm tofu, is that the less liquid you have in it when you're cooking, the crispier it will become. Okay, so here's my tofu. I'm ready with that. And I have, anybody who is using pork cutlets, I have my pork ready here. It's always good to have a little bit of fat in the pork, and it helps to keep the pork kind of soft when you're eating it. So I've got my meats all ready and tofu ready. And then what makes it a katsu instead of just a cutlet? This panko. These are the Japanese breadcrumbs that are larger than any of the others, any breadcrumbs that you see in the States. And this is what gives it this nice crispy outer layer. So I'm hoping everybody has panko. Is anybody using breadcrumbs, or anybody doesn't have panko? Nope, we're all set. Oh, by the way, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box, and Sophie will address them to me, or you can just turn your mute off and ask, okay? So 3 important elements for making our katsu are the breadcrumbs, the panko, flour, and eggs. Okay, can everybody see those? All right, this is our setup here. So I want to make sure that everybody has this set up and ready to go. All right, so that's your cutlet part. All right, so put these all aside. If you haven't made your 3 plates, do so now. The next element of this is the sauce that you make with ketchup. I think we have a half cup of ketchup, 2 to 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. This is what I was able to get here in Germany. And I also have an apple that we're going to grate in it. And that gives it some kind of a sweetness and also helps to counter the vinegary flavor in the Worcestershire sauce. If you don't have an apple, you could use apple juice or you could use a kiwi or something, but we're going to grate it into here. We're going to do that. We're actually going to do that first as soon as I get all the other elements explained. All right. Now, the other important piece of this is the cabbage. Has everybody grated their shredded their cabbage? Is anybody using the prepared coleslaw mix? Is anyone using that? That's super convenient.
Yes,
Portion
I'm using it.
You're using that, okay. Super convenient to use. If anybody has you should have your cabbage ready. You've got 2 cups, it's all shredded. And I will just quickly show you this. This is a German cabbage that's popular now, or at this time of year, called Spitzkohl. And that's what I was able to find. But when I cut my cabbage, I cut it in very, very thin shreds by hand, by myself. You can also do this on a grater if you have a shredder. So just wanted to show you a little bit about how I cut it. So all of this should be ready. All right, if anybody doesn't have this ready yet, don't worry, you can take the time to do it afterwards. All right. And then I've already showed you your yellow mustard. If you don't have the, you can use like a yellow deli mustard, but the point here, it's not wasabi. That is not used. It's a yellow mustard. All right. So we've got that. And I think that's there. And what we're going to do for our sandwiches afterwards, I'll show you this, is we have white bread. This is very, very common for making sandwiches in Japan. And here in Germany, they call it American bread. So, because most of the bread here in Germany is really healthy dark bread. So I was able to find this though. All right. So we've got 2 different types of preparations for the katsu. I'm going to do both of them. I'm not going to do all the different, all the amount that I have for each one, just so that we can go through them. But if you are using here the pork cutlet, what you're going to be doing is, okay, so we have it here. You're not going to quite pound it, although I have seen people do that with the these cutlets. But what we are going to do is kind of chop on both sides. And see, I have my other knife here to use the tofu, use for the tofu. So I'll start with this, and I'm just going to. It doesn't cut
First,
through.
Sensei, what kind of pork are you using? I know in Japan, what the rosikatsu and the hidekatsu are I think the 2 most popular, the roast and the loin cuts. But which pork cuts are you using today?
I think I have a loin here. I think I have a loin. I don't have the hidekatsu, but I think it's a loin is the one that I have. Okay. And now on the other side, same thing. And kind of tenderizing it. Just do that for one more. And the other side. Okay, and like that. All right, and so what we're gonna do now is take some salt and pepper. Let me just wipe my hands first. Get that off here. And you're just gonna salt and pepper this and leave it for 10 minutes. So that's why I wanted to start this now. And we are going to do something very similar with the tofu. All right, and let's just there and turn this over and do this again.
Deborah says that we have a question in the chat box. So
Yes.
you're actually cutting the pork. The
No.
question is, do you have to cut the pork or?
No, it's not really cutting it. It's just kind of denting it. Okay, I would say it's not cutting, it's denting, if you can see. It's not cut, just dent. Okay. All right. All right, let me put this aside and just wipe my hands here. Going from that meat to tofu. All right, now the tofu, as you can see, it's a firm tofu, or you can use an extra firm tofu, but this is what we have here. And what you're going to do is, it's pretty thick, but I think we can just use it, cut it down like this. Okay, and you're getting a slab. And if you, that is really pretty dry, really dry. All right, so if you're just going to cut it down to slabs like this. And I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces, 5 or 6 pieces will do it. Put it on a plate, and you're going to put salt and pepper on this as well. Okay. Is everybody with me? Want to make sure. Got that. Right. And salt and pepper. Tofu does not have a whole lot of flavor. And so when I made this at once, I thought, it could use a little bit more flavor. So I just want to make sure that we put the salt and pepper on it, and then we're going to leave both of these items to sit for 10 minutes. Okay. Here we go. The people who are using tofu, were you able to get a firm tofu? Yes? Good.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent.
Yes,
Perfect. Here we go. And have you drained tofu before with the method that I recommended? Is that
I
how
actually
you-
have a tofu torture device, it's called. So it
Oh,
squeezes the juice, the water out. Same
Wow.
idea.
okay, great. All right. These are ready to go. I'm going to set them aside for 10 minutes. All right. And what we're going to do now is we're going to make the sauce so that that's ready when the tofu and when the katsu is ready. All right, just wipe off my table here. And I've already measured my half cup of ketchup. Is anybody using bulldog sauce that you can find in the market?
Yes, I am.
need any help?
Yes.
cooking?
Yeah,
Okay, anybody,
Tonkatsu.
anybody,
We
okay,
both.
anybody making the tonkatsu sauce? Is anybody making it on their own? Okay, that's what you're using, the bulldog sauce. So I'm making a copycat one. All right, now it's very quick. So even if you're no one's making it, I'll just show you briefly. Because I also like to show people kids how to measure. So I've got I think I've got a half a cup there. And when I measure, I do not measure over my bowl. I always measure to the side. And what I do is usually start with 1 tablespoon when anything says 1 to 2 tablespoons, start low, because you can always add, but it's really hard to take it away. Then you have to fix the acidity or the sweetness or something. So I usually just do 1. I know this is going to take 2. So I'll just put it in there now, mix it up. I've read recipes where people use tomato paste as well, which is a little less sweet because there's a lot of sugar and ketchup. All right. And then the secret to this sauce is grating an apple into it. So I've got my handy dandy microplane, and I'm just going to grate about a quarter of an apple in here. I've got a half here, but a quarter should be enough. Or apple juice.
Did you use applesauce as well, or does it have to be either an apple or apple juice?
That's an interesting question. I never tried applesauce. But I don't see why not. Pork chops and applesauce go together. So it probably be worth a try. I don't see how it could hurt it. And then the other thing people will use if they don't have either of these items on its own is just barbecue sauce. But this will give you a pretty close to an authentic flavor. And then you're just mixing this together. And you can add a dash of soy sauce as well. So you can see this is pretty red. There's a lot of ketchup in here. And I made this much because I have 2 items and the tofu and the sandos. So I know this needs 1 more tablespoon of, oops, that's why you don't measure over the bowl. All right. And I'll clean this up in a minute. All right, so now the sauce is done. So it's always a good idea to get things done that you're going to be using at the end ahead of time, because then you can eat the food while it's hot, as opposed to starting to make a sauce after you've made the cover. All right, so let me put these over here. And my sauce is now done. And I'm going to clean up my plate. All right. And now I'm going to get one item to show you, which also is important in the making of this. And very often when we fry things, I always used to put it on a brown paper bag. I did what my mother did. But I've since learned that if you put the item on top of a rack, on top of a baking sheet or something that will catch the oil does not have a chance to sit in, the item doesn't have a chance to sit in the oil, so it'll drain the oil away. So if you can all get a rack ready with a baking sheet or something underneath it, that will help you when we're ready to cook. Okay. And now we will start our process. We're going to make the, actually, before we start this, let me just go to the edamame. So I can tell you what we're going to be doing with that afterwards. So you all should have your edamame boiled and ready in the skin. And we all know it's delicious this way, but you can just briefly cook it in a wok or frying pan with some spices, and it really dresses the whole thing up and gives you a whole new experience to be eating with. So I have soy sauce, 2 cloves of garlic. These are kind of large cloves, so I'm only going to use 1. And I have some hot red, I have dried red Japanese red pepper. But you can use any kind of red pepper, or if it's too hot and spicy, you don't have to use other. And the other little secret ingredient is sesame oil. So when we're finished, we're ready at the end, we will cook this very quickly. All right, I just want to make sure everybody has it ready. All right, put this here. And now we're gonna start our assembly line. So if you get everything ready, get a plate ready. I've got 2 plates here, one for the pork, one for the tofu. And since I have less of the pork, I'm going to do that first. Let's make sure that your eggs are beaten. Okay. And everybody's cabbage is cut too. I want to make sure that that is done. All right. So let's get our egg ready. So the order is egg, flour, panko. All right. And let's scramble up your eggs. Now, you may need only 1 egg, but I always find if I do 1 egg, I need another egg, and then I have to stop and start breaking another egg. So I'd rather have a little bit too much than too little. So I'm just going to, yeah, actually, I misspoke. The order is flour, egg, panko. Sorry about that. So that's the order that you want your dishes in, so that you can have a smooth transition. All righty. I'm going to start with my pork. Sure, it's got that. And you need a plate also, so that when you're finished dipping everything, that you put it on a plate just to let it dry before we fry it. Okay, so that's going to the end here. And now we'll take the pork, put it in the flour. There's nothing in the flour. There's no salt and pepper or anything. All right. And we dip it in the flour. And I should have mentioned to you before that it's a really good idea to have a wet towel near you. You're going to need to be wiping your hands periodically. So that's always very helpful to have around. So I've got my pork cutlet dipped in the flour. Now it goes into the egg. Yes. Right. Slide this over a little bit more. And now it gets a bath in the panko. And I have a slightly deep dish with the katsu in it here. Okay. Now, right. Yes. And make sure that you're going over multiple times. Like that. Right. And now you just place your katsu on a plate so that you have it all ready on the side there. So what I did was I did things in reverse than I was supposed to do it, because now that I put pork in all of this, I can't put the tofu in here. So I'll have to just replate some of these things. All right, so now I've got pork cutlet again. Even when I tell myself this is what you're gonna do, I forgot. I'm sorry about that. Here we go. All right. Here. And on the other side. So obviously everybody knows that after putting raw meat in something, you can't put a vegetable in there. That's true with knives, with everything, cutting boards, etc. Okay, so here we go.
And Deborah says, just to let you know, I tried this the other day with your recipe, and we used my wife is trying to do gluten-free, so we used gluten-free flour and gluten-free panko, and it came out pretty good. It tasted a
Really?
little different from the normal, tonkatsu, but it still came out pretty good. So people at home, you can go gluten-free with both the flour and the panko as well.
Yes, that, I saw for the first time, I saw panko that was gluten-free. So yes, that was a great thing to bring up. All right, everybody just give me a second to replenish these things in different plates. And then we will start in on the tofu, which is exactly the same process. All right, so if you want to, you can get started. And no. And I will just replenish my panko here. Wait. Okay. One more thing. All right. Thank you for being patient, everybody. That was a glitch on my part. Here we go. And I will just take the egg, break it in here. You can never be too careful with food. So even if things take a little bit longer, then I will go for it. All right. Egg done. And while I'm doing this, if you want to start to heat your oil on medium, low on your stove to get things going to put it in, that would be a great thing to do to take up a little bit of time here. And now I'm going to put flour on here. All right. For the Japanese members of the audience, is this a way that you do, that if you've made this before, or do you have another way of doing this? Is anyone doing this in a different manner? No?
This is how I learned it when I became a Japanese bride, so.
Ah, okay, all right. This is it. I've also seen double dipping with putting something in the flour, the egg, the flour, and back again. It makes it even thicker, but I don't think it's necessary. So here we are. I've got my tofu now. I've got the flour. I've got the egg in the middle, and we'll go from there. And just again. And you want to try to get it on the sides and turn it around into the egg. And right into the panko. Okay, we want to do this on all sides here. Once the cutlet is cooked, we slice it, but we don't slice the tofu. That's why I've done it in several pieces already. Okay, you can, but you don't. And I'll do just 1 or 2 more pieces, and then we'll get started with cooking. Okay. And I also made extras so that I can use make a sandwich out of these items too. So great for your lunchbox, great for any snack. Okay, there we go.
I know this is totally different, Deborah Sensei, but is this similar to how you make agedashi tofu by any chance?
No, it's entirely different.
Okay.
Because with agedashi tofu, I mean, you can deep fry this, but you deep fry that too. But what you do with agedashi tofu is that you're just dipping the tofu in katakuriko, which is potato starch, or cornstarch, but Japanese use potato starch, and then you just fry it. You don't dip it in egg or anything like that. And so it's just fried like that. And I will say, has anybody tried any of these in an air fryer? Has anybody tried making anything in an air fryer? I have made agedashi tofu in an air fryer because I love the dish so much and I don't deep fry. And so the beginning of the pandemic, I bought an air fryer.
I've tried tonkatsu by baking it instead of frying it, which also came out pretty well. A little bit different, but never an air fryer.
Ah, okay. I did this backwards, so this has got to go back in the egg. All right. All right. Yoshi, would you like to give us some katsu facts while I am heating up my oil?
Sure. So the katsu, as Deborah Sensei mentioned, is not originally a Japanese type of cuisine and Japanese food. It did come from Europe. So Deborah Sensei is actually in Germany, so it is very similar to the schnitzel, but also very similar to the côtelette, which is a French term for veal or pork or chicken cutlet. And then the côtelette actually became part of English word. Côtelette became cutlet, and then cutlet became katsuretsu in Japanese, right? And then so that's how it became katsu. And then everyone knows ton means pork. So when you combine ton and katsu together, that's how you get the pork cutlet and tonkatsu. And of course, today we're not just using the ton and the pork, but a little bit of a healthier version, tofu, right? So how do you call tofu katsu? We had a little bit of debate when we were planning this event about how do we call tofu and katsu together. But yeah, most people make it tofu katsu. So it's not tofu tonkatsu or tofu anything else. But it is tofu katsu as many people use it. So but yeah, so that's kind of a brief history. And then it first appeared in Japanese restaurants in the late 1800s in a yoshoku restaurant in Tokyo in a part of Ginza. So that's kind of a short history of how tonkatsu came to be in Japan, and it's one of now the most popular dishes, of course, in Japan, and of course here in the U.S. too now, right? So
Yes. All right, everybody. So I'm going to move over to the stove now and get this a little closer here. My little pan I'm going to use for the I'm going to use for the tofu, and the larger pan I'm going to use for the pork cutlet. And I have my tray right next to me, right here, so that I'm able to just put the cutlets right on top of it. We can have that ready, and I'm just going to turn my computer so I can see what we're all doing. All right. Anybody have any questions? It's a good idea now to have your plates, your serving plates that you're going to be putting the dishes on, the food on, ready. And we'll wind it now. So while the oil is heating, I have a plate. I'm going to put on top of it the pile of cabbage that I have ready. Okay, just right up here on the side. And I don't know if anybody had a chance to make rice, but it's usually served with it, not on the plate, but in a separate bowl. And you make kind of a nice little mountain of cabbage. And this is something that you can eat endless amounts of in a katsu restaurant. They will ask you, okawari, do you want more cabbage? And it really is an excellent accompaniment to it. So I'm going to prepare my plate for my pork, and then I'm going to prepare my plate for the tofu, have that ready to go. All right.
and Deborah says, is it true that the cabbage helps your digestive system break down the fried food?
Oh, I didn't know that, but it sounds good. That sounds
Okay, yeah.
good. Yes.
I read that somewhere that yeah, I guess the fibers within the cabbage help kind of break down the fried food. So that's why you I guess eat cabbage with tonkatsu.
That is a very good point that I did not know, but makes a lot of sense. But also, with schnitzel, they're not eating sauerkraut, but as people know, that is a very popular accompaniment here in Germany. All right, so Duffy's ready.
We have a quick question about the cabbage. Is it unseasoned?
Unseasoned, yes, unseasoned. Unseasoned cabbage. Afterwards, you could put on a little bit of the dressing if you want, but it's usually unseasoned and it's eaten like that. So now I have my frying pans here. I think they're hot, but a good way to tell is to just throw a few little breadcrumbs in here. And if you can see the bubbles around them, the oil is ready. Okay. I don't do temperatures very well. I don't usually have a thermometer with me. So this is how I tell whether it's going to be working or not. Clearly, the Tofukatsu is going to cook quicker than the pork katsu. Pork has to really be cooked through and through. And I'm going to put in my pork now. And I can hear it sizzle. I have an electric stove, and I have it up to 8. And I'm going to put the other piece in as well. That. Okay. Here we go. Everybody with me? So that's one pair of chopsticks that I'm leaving on the side for the pork. And I have here a pair of tongs, which is very helpful to turn things. I have to remember not to go back and forth there. And now I'm going to put the tofu in. Okay. And that could be a little bit hotter. The hotter the oil, the less it's absorbed into the food. Okay, that's an important thing to know. Then we're not deep frying. It's a little bit more than shallow frying, I would say. When you go to a katsu restaurant, they are deep frying these, the pork. Okay, and that, as you know, it makes everything cook all at one time, gets brown all at one time. They're not really having to turn it too much. And also another thing that I'm sure you know is the more pieces that you put into a pan, it lowers the temperature of the oil. So, you know, you have to be judicious in how much you put in. I have a larger pan over here. If I had 4 cutlets, I would never put 4 cutlets in. I would do 2 and 2. And this 4 of these is just enough. Okay? So these should be cooking away. And what you will do is after 2 minutes, you're going to turn the pork cutlet. And after 3 minutes, you'll turn the pork cutlet. After 2 minutes, we'll turn this. You're going to be turning the pork cutlet a couple of times. Okay? It's always very hard for me not to put things on too high, because I want to see it cooked, but you have to be patient. So I'm just going to knock that down to a 7, so I don't burn it. And this here, and I see that this is moving along, and probably a good idea to have a spatula as well to help turn the tofu. Okay, let's see right there. All right, it's getting brown, but I want it to get a little bit more brown. And here's my pork. Let's see how this is doing. Okay, that's getting a nice brown color. You can see that. Yeah, I hope. Closer camera. And now I'm going to turn this over. Yes, beautiful. And now I'm going to get also the reason for getting out as much liquid from the tofu as possible is that if any water leaks into the oil, it makes it, it'll make it soggy. So that's, you have to try as best you can. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I got a nice color on that. Let's see if you can see the brown. All right. How's everybody doing with their cooking? Yeah, really. So, can I say here? Oh, yes, the right color. And you can also hear the katsu cooking. I'm gonna lower that again because it sounds like it's really going very fast, so I'm just gonna lower that to 6. Okay. All right, how's everybody doing? Any questions or anything? No? Let's see, just get this. Word. All right. It's not a good idea to do something else while your food is frying. We do have other things to do, but, I really need to pay attention to this. We need to pay attention so that we don't burn something. All right, there we go. Excellent. Anybody having any issues? Of course, if you have children, this is the part of the activity that the adults should do or do with the kid right next to them. That.
Are you just gauging the readiness by the color? I guess you said you wanted the kind of brown, kind of light
Yes.
to kind of a middle brown color.
Yes, the pork, it's not just the color. You really have to check the inside of it to make sure that it's not, the pork takes about 8 minutes. The thinner the pork cutlet, the quicker it goes. The thicker, it takes longer. So, for the tofu cutlet, it's cooked, but I want it to be crunchy, all right? So, I'm gonna turn over this pork cutlet again. All right, how's everybody doing? Yep, nice color. I know that now it seems to be okay to eat pork that's pink in the middle, but I can't wrap my mind around that. So I always prefer to see it's white. And now I'm going to take a look at the tofu. The tofu is just about ready. Let's see what we got here. Nice. I'm going to turn that just one more time. Just quickly, I'm going to lay it on each side. Get it nice and crispy, and then it's done. Beautiful color. Beautiful color. The other thing that you know that we've gotten enough water out of the tofu is if it doesn't spit at you or doesn't sputter, you know, then there's no, you did a good job in draining the tofu. All right, get these out of the way. And back here. Get ready to take these off. All right. Going to take out the tofu first. It's just about ready. Nice and crispy. Okay. I got a beautiful color there. You can see it. Okay. I'm just putting it right on top of beautiful. I have to remember to turn that off. This down a little.
So another fun fact about tonkatsu and tofukatsu is for people who are superstitious, it's considered to be a good luck food. The reason for that is katsu, of course, you know, is another word for cutlet in Japanese, but katsu could also mean to win, right? So if there's a big sporting game or a big baseball game, or I guess today right now is during March Madness, a basketball game, if you eat tonkatsu, maybe your team will win, right? So katsu also means win. So for people who are superstitious in Japan, it's also a good luck food.
I'm turning the fork one more time. And I'm using the tongs because I'm finished with the tofu. Okay. And I'm getting a really nice color on this. How's everybody doing? All right. Any questions? How you doing, Agnes? All good? Yeah?
Yeah, all good. I think the tricky part is always to know when to flip the pork when it's you know it gets a
Exactly.
little too brown, just right.
Right. So
Years
I'm
of
gonna take
practice.
one out and I'm gonna cut into it and let's see. Okay, I'm taking it off the heat. I can always put it back on, but I'm gonna take it off the heat. And I'm gonna put one katsu right here and another one here. Just drain it for a second. And then we'll cut into it together so we can see whether I have to go back to the stove. All right. That is the safest way to tell, is by cutting into it. So here's my katsu. I think it's done, but let's see if it is. Cutting into the center. No, okay, it is not ready. That is too pink for me. So that's going back on the stove. And that's really the best way to tell, is by cutting it. All right, right back on and in. And I think it'll probably be another 2 minutes and it should be ready. Okay. So let's see where we are here. I've just put it back on the stove.
Did you also take internal temperature, or is it better to kind of look at the color and make sure there's no pink inside?
That's what I tend to do. I think, I'm trying to remember what pork is. And meat is 160. I don't know. I think pork may be around 175, 180, but I'm not sure on those numbers. If anybody has a thermometer and is testing it, please let us know. Okay? Please let us know with that. All right.
I just looked it up briefly. You said minimum of 145, but it may be better to, I guess, maybe higher, right? So
For pork? Okay, so I had that, minimum 145 is gonna give you pink, is what I think. Okay? All right. So I'm giving that another minute or two. Anybody who has finished the tofu and you have your plate ready, if you're making a tofu sando, save one piece for that, all right? But this will plate it and sort of the way that we plate things for katsu. Take your yellow mustard, all right? I've been using yellow mustard that I got out of a little natto package. So please excuse the tiny little amounts that I have. But there we are. Here's my yellow mustard right on the side. Also, if you like, you can have a lemon slice. It's really very good with the pork. All right. And now let me get it. And I'm just going to lay the katsu like that. You can cut it if you want, but I don't think it's really necessary to do that. It'll have a little bit more crunch if you don't. And so you just lay them there. Probably 2 is enough for a serving of this, the palm of your hand. All right. But actually in Japan, people do things in odd numbers, 3, 5, no 4s. 4 is shi, which is a word for death. So we don't usually do that. I better put a 3rd one down here so I know that I am correct. All right. Can everybody see that? and then a little bit more on the cabbage. Okay. And put that up. Right now, this is a very kind of monocolored plate. You can add a little cherry tomato or something to the side to make it a little bit more colorful. But there is your Tofukatsu, and we can put that right on the side, all right? And I think our Tonkatsu is ready, and I've got that over here, right? And let me take that off.
And Deborah Sensei, while you were cooking, I looked up why Japanese people use mustard or karashi in
Yes.
tonkatsu.
Yes.
Apparently, the vibrant flavor of the Japanese mustard or the karashi pairs well with fatty meats, and it is a great accompaniment for rich dishes such as tonkatsu. So maybe there's also a digestive component to it too, like the cabbage,
What
but
there
I
is.
guess the flavor is a good pairing with the fatty meat.
Yes, that's a very good point. I know that mustard, like ginger, has healing properties to it as well. So it's not surprising. All right, so plating the tonkatsu is a little bit different because we slice this ahead of time because you're using, well, not these chopsticks, but you use chopsticks to eat them with, and you're not going to be cutting food. So that's another reason why Japanese foods tend to be cut into bite-sized pieces so that they can be picked up with chopsticks, which is the eating utensil of choice. Okay, so now we've got our katsu here, like this. Okay. Is everybody with me? Are we on the same page at this moment? All right, I've got my katsu here, that's ready to go. And now what we're going to do is we're going to slice the katsu into several pieces and then place it on top of the cabbage. Okay, so I'm just going to cut it down. Ooh, that's hot. Pretty good. Let me see if I can hold it with this. No, gotta do it with my hand. Try to keep it together. Yeah, pretty good. Okay. And cutting from the middle out. Keep your crust on if you can. It's actually kind of hot, and I'm cutting it when it's too hot. So if you're doing that, just let it rest for a minute, okay, before we cut that. I was becoming too excited to do that. All right, let's just leave that on the side and wait for that.
And Deborah Sensei, how many pieces will you cut, I guess, in the end? We have a question in the chat box about how many pieces. I guess it depends on the size, right?
Depends on the size, but this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
6.
I'll make 6 cuts and you'll have 7 pieces. About, okay? And again, because you want to be picking this up with chopsticks and eating it without having to cut it. So you want to have something that you can pick up that's a reasonable size that you could put in your mouth. Okay? But let that cool down just a little bit. Okay, I got it. Yeah. All right. So for the katsu itself, we just use the plain cabbage. Now you can put a little sauce on this, but for the katsu sando, I'm going to make a cabbage that has like a slaw, just a little bit spicy. And because you could use sriracha, you could use rayu, anything like that. But because we're going to keep the theme going of yellow mustard, I'm going to use all of my yellow mustard packets and put it in here. It's very strong, so you don't need a whole lot. And all we're gonna do is make a coleslaw with this, which would be mayonnaise, the mustard, and just a little bit of sugar. Okay, we have that. And I've got one more packet to go here. And I think it's 2 tablespoons or so of mayonnaise. Is that right, Yoshi, on the recipe? I think I have 1 cup of mayonnaise. Now you don't have to make slaw to put on the sandwiches if you don't want to. You can just have it be regular shredded cabbage. But this gives it a little bit of a nice flavor, so I'm going to use about 2 tablespoons, and I've got my Kewpie mayo, and I'm able to find everything here in Berlin, which is very exciting to me. All right, we've got that. I've got my mustard, and I'm just mixing this in, and this is going to go on top of the sandwich. Okay. So I'd like to know how people are doing, where they are on the frying position. Is everybody's finished? I want to make sure that we're all working together. Where everybody is, I'm going to be able to cut this up momentarily. And I just have the slaw here. And then usually with coleslaw, you add a little bit of sugar to it if you like. And as I said, you could add sriracha if you want, or hot sauce, or anything. All right. My sugar is not handy, so I'm going to leave that out of here for now, and just so we can move along. Okay, so my slaw is now ready. Okay. Yeah. I think I can cut my tonkatsu now. So here we are. Pull down a bit. Yes, better. Much better. All right. Still a little messy there. Let me wipe off my blade. Okay. This. And one more with the little end piece. Okay, so now I have my cutlet cut up into pieces. It's usually 1 cutlet per person. So trying to get it all in one fell swoop and putting it right on top of the cabbage. Okay, if you can see, I put it, kind of leaned it up against it, and I'll bring out my yellow mustard for this. Put it on the side, doesn't go on top of it, you just put it on the side. And now I have my sauce. And the sauce is typically put down the center like that. Okay. I'm just gonna mix it up. And if you have the bulldog sauce, be really careful when you put it on because it comes out very, very fast. All right. I think everybody can see how this is facing me now. And then I'm just going to put this all along top like that, just a line in the middle. And you can always serve more on the side, but you usually see it spread across. Very similar to okonomiyaki sauce. Okonomiyaki sauce is thinner. We have that. Sorry for my tiny little piece of yellow mustard there, but you have your tonkatsu ready to go. All right, I'm going to turn off my share for 1 minute because I'd like to see everybody's, and I'd like everybody to have a taste of it while it's hot. And then while you're eating, I'm going to demonstrate the katsu sando. And then after you're done, we'll do up the edamame. All right, I'm going to stop my share and I'm going to ask everybody to show me their katsu. Ooh, nice. You hold them up. Ah, excellent. Wow, beautiful. Somebody did the cherry tomatoes. Very nice. All right, let me just take a picture. Beautiful. Yes, excellent. Good, Maya. Excellent job. Beautiful, everybody. All right. So, for the tonkatsu, you're picking it up, and with the other one, you're picking it up with your chopsticks or your fork, and you're just eating it together. And I'm gonna have you eat it while it's hot. So before we eat, what do we do in Japan? We put our hands together and we say, itadakimasu. Excuse me, itadakimasu. Okay.
Itadakimasu.
Yes. And also for the
Great, perfect.
Great. I'm going to share my screen again. Before I go on, does anybody have any questions or comments before I go on? All right. You just clean
Do
up
we
my.
put,
Yes.
do we put the sauce on the tofu?
Yes.
That's what, or was it only for the pork?
No, it's for the tofu as well,
Okay.
exactly the same way you can do that, or you can put it on the side, okay? This tofu is a little bit larger to pick up one piece, but, yeah. You could cut that in half when you served it, but you put that again, kind of the same way, and then I'm sure you're gonna want more, and so you'll just have sauce for yourselves on the side. Okay, itadakimasu. Everybody, please have a taste and give me a second to just clean up my area, and then I'm going to get ready to do the katsu sando. Any other comments? How's it tasting, everyone?
We have one question in the chat box. Do you have to use the sauce? I guess you don't have to use the sauce, right? You can just eat it plain as well.
Absolutely not. You do not have to eat the sauce. You could put on soy sauce if you want, if you feel it'll need something. As I said, you could squeeze on some lemon juice. I know onto the pork. I don't know if there's other, and then the way you use the hot mustard is that you pick up your piece and you just dip it into the hot mustard like that. And then in between bites, you take your, you eat the cabbage. Okay? And you could, I've seen people show you on cabbage. Yoshi, is there any other way? Do people put anything else on the cabbage, or they're just eating it like that?
Mostly I think just like that. But with the sauce on the tonkatsu and the karashi, there's enough flavoring there. I've also seen people put, I guess, some sort of dressing or like you mentioned, but mostly I think the sauces and the flavors that you already have with the tonkatsu is more than enough to accompany the cabbage.
I think so. Okay, let me just put these on the side so that I can get ready to do the sandwiches. I don't know if anybody's going to be doing the sandwich with me, but I prefer you to eat while it's hot. And let me just get everything ready to show you how to do it. Okay. So as I said, I have white bread here. And at the moment, the crusts are on. They are going to come off. As most Japanese sandwiches do not have crusts on them. This is a little bit of a small piece of bread, but it'll work for us. Because very often these are put into little bento boxes, and so they need to fit into a space as well. But usually Japanese are using thick, fluffy white bread for this. Okay, so here for the sandwich, I'm just putting some sauce on both sides, and if you don't want any sauce, you certainly don't have to have it. You could use mayonnaise as well, but you're creating a little bit of a barrier between the food and the bread, so as not to have the bread be too soggy. Okay.
Question from
Yes.
the chat box, is milk bread okay?
Milk bread?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes, that's the beautiful Japanese. Yes, absolutely. You're gonna have a super sando with that one. Okay, really, absolutely. You need a little bit more ingredients, I think, on it, but there we go. We're gonna do this for you're not toasting this bread. It's just, the whole point is having soft bread. You can have whole wheat bread to have it be healthier, but you don't want like a French bread consistency. You really want a nice soft bread. Okay. All right. And then we're going to put on, so here, watch the point here. Since we're going to cut off the edges, I want to try to keep the food inside the bread. So I've got a cutlet here. And if you can see, the bread, when I cut it away, is not going to, it's not going to get too much of this sandwich, but let me see if I can get that a little bit more. Okay. It can be bigger than that. And anything that you cut off, the kitchen help gets to eat. So there you go. All right. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some coleslaw on top of it, or you can put a piece of lettuce on it, or you can just put cabbage on it. Okay. So I'm just going to put some coleslaw on this, like this. And again, trying to keep it sort of within the confines here of this part of the bread. Okay. And do the same thing for the tofu. Okay. This, I could use a little bit larger piece on that. If you had two pieces, you could put that there, but I'm gonna cut it so it'll be correct. I could also take another piece from here and put it right on the side, which I think I will do. Okay, I'm gonna wash my knife because I don't remember what I cut with that. So I'm gonna make sure it wasn't the fork. Okay.
You know, I've seen other variations of the katsusando nowadays. People can put cheese on it, and also
Yes.
instead of the tonkatsu sauce, I guess kare, make it katsu kare sando, maybe, right? So there's a lot of variations you can do with this.
That is a great idea. Okay, and again, you can just put plain cabbage on. You don't have to put anything else on. And I've also seen people that after they put the sandwich together, they weight it down with a plate. You can do that. We don't really need, when I tested the recipe, I didn't need to do that. We just pressed the sandwich for that. Okay. And the other piece goes on top, like this. And a piece here, like that, you press it down. There's also, you can wrap it, if you're making it ahead of time, you can wrap it in plastic wrap. Like this, and then you can cut it with the plastic. That will just, if you put it on really tight and then put it in the fridge, it will help to make it easier to cut. But we're not going to do that right now. Let's leave that right here, like this. And I'm just going to press down on both sandwiches. Okay. All right. And okay. So what you're going to be doing once we cut these is we're going to be turning the sandwich up vertically. So it's going to be standing standing up. That's part of the beauty of it. But before we do that, we have to cut off the crust, okay? So we're gonna cut the crust off of the bread like this. And then turn it around and another cut. And another cut. It's for looks, it's for looks. If you can't stand the idea of cutting off crust, you don't have to, but there you go. And now the sandwich, we're gonna just cut right in half. I've got some sauce here and I'm gonna wipe that off before I cut the bread. And just very easily go down, back and forth. That. And katsu sando. Okay. Got that there, and as you can see, putting it face up like that. Put it in an angle. And then let's cut the tofu. And I'm gonna go wash my knife.
And since you're placing the sando and the sandwiches face up, I guess it's critical to make it a rectangle, not a triangle, right?
Yes, exactly, exactly. Thank you for pointing that out. And let's just cut down here. And this is nothing wasted here. Don't worry, multi-knife will eat it. But when you're putting this in a lunchbox or serving them, it's really very pretty to do it this way. Okay. All right. And now we'll cut these in half. And again, my blade is a little messy, so I'm going to wipe it and cut it in half. Oops. And here we go. That looks delicious. Oh my goodness. Nice and creamy. I'll put that there. And oops. This here. Ah. Sandwich is falling apart a little bit. There we go. And put this piece here. And then you can add some more coleslaw on the side or some cherry tomatoes to make it nice and pretty. So I need to do that now because it's looking very brown. And in Japan, color is very important in your food. 5 colors, red, black, yellow, and green, for a healthy meal. Okay, I turned this sandwich upside down, but I'm not going to move around a little bit. I've got a little stick here left over. I'll just put this right over here and move my. How many people have made the katsu sando with us? Have anyone made the katsu sando? I'd love to see them. I'm going to stop my share for a sec. And then we have a final one thing to do, which is very quick. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop my share. Did anybody make the sandos? I'd love to see them. Anybody do? Oh, Maya. Awesome. Keep holding that up. Great. Okay. Karen, did you make the sando? No. Okay. Next time. Agnes, did you make your sandwich? You're going to do it later.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna do it later.
Okay. Very good. So that is the main part of our class for tonight. Does anybody have any questions after this? How many people have the edamame? Do you have your edamame ready? Good. Okay. That's going to be the last thing we do. Hi, Donna. It's going to be just a few, just takes a few minutes very quickly. And I'm going to switch my camera again and get my pan ready and my ingredients ready. Oh, before I do that, I've got to cut up the garlic. So let me share my screen one final time. And oops. We'll get that done. Okay. All right. So for this, we've got soy sauce, garlic, and sesame oil and red peppers if you're using. Okay. I'm just gonna start the heat on my frying pan. And we don't have a lot of oil for this, but we do want it to be hot, and it's cooking very quickly because it's like a wok cooking. If you have a wok, that's great. And let me put my knife ready. And just gonna smash your garlic. It says 2 cloves, but it depends how much you like garlic. All right, and I'm just gonna chop that up. And again, this is another example of doing something by preparing everything ahead of time, and then the cooking part takes really 2 minutes on this. Okay, so my garlic is ready. And my red peppers are ready. And my soy sauce is ready. Now we're just going to move over to the stove, and the edamame is ready. All cooked. Okay. Back and get them. Here. All right. Now let me just turn this a little bit more. And make sure you bring your sesame oil to the stove as well, because you'll be just sprinkling that on right at the end. All right, and you want to get this up on a high heat quickly. All right. Your edamame ready? Here. And in goes my garlic. And red pepper. Yeah. And it's starting to shimmer now. And we're just going to cook this very briefly. Release the smell of the garlic. You don't want to burn the garlic. All right. This. And then in goes the edamame. Oh, does that smell good? Woo! And really, the beans are already cooked. So you just want to get everything all coated. About 30 seconds. And then we're going to add soy sauce. I think it's a teaspoon of soy sauce. Oh my goodness, that really smells good. Okay. And just a little drizzle of sesame oil. Done. All done. Okay. And you put it back into the bowl. And it's super hot, meaning temperature-wise and possibly taste-wise. So be really careful. You don't need to put all the oil in there. And wait till it's cooled down enough. For you to have your edamame snack, okay? And these, again, you just scoop right into your mouth. It seems like everybody knows what to be doing with this. And here we have our soy champion meal for everything. And there we go. And our sandwiches as well. Woo, we did it. Let me stop my share. Does anybody have any questions at all at this moment? Any comments? Okay.
Thank you very much. We need to go, but it was great. We will
Okay.
enjoy it. Oishi desu.
Hi, arigatou gozaimasu. Maya-chan, you have a question. What is your question? Did you have a question? Oh, you're on mute. You're on mute.
How long do you think we should like fry the
Um,
edamame?
about 30 seconds on each item that you add, so it's about a minute and a half. Okay, minute and a half. How's the katsu? Good, all right, very good. So that is our meal for today. Yoshi, do you want to tell them about the survey to fill out?
Yes, so everyone tuning in, will be sending out the link to a survey to let us know your feedback for tonight's cooking class. It really helps us out in improving our events in the future. So please fill one out. We'll be putting up the link on the chat box and also send it out by email after this event as well. So definitely take a few moments to send out the survey when you have a few minutes. It's not too long at all, but it does really help us out. So please do so. And then, of course, Ochi Gohan is a monthly series event, right? So we had so much fun making Tofukatsu and Tonkatsu and Katsu Sando today, but we have another program in April. The Japan American Society of Houston will be hosting that one, and we will be making Fruitsu Sando, right, Deborah Sensei?
Fruit sando. It's a dessert and it's a sandwich. It's really fun and it's very beautiful. A beautiful Japanese treat that I think everybody will really love.
So definitely join us next time. And until then, thank you for joining us today. And thank you to Deborah Sensei for hosting. And thank you to Table for Two's Washokuiku and all of the Japan American Societies, Japan Societies, part of our Ochi Gohan series. Thank you again and see you again soon.
Yo!